When I first started wrenching on cars over a decade ago, Chinese-built vehicles were the punchline of the industry. Cheap plastics, questionable reliability, cars you bought because you had no other choice. They weren't cars you wanted. They were cars you settled for. But fast forward to 2026 and that entire narrative is dead. Because today, Chinese brands aren't playing catch-up anymore. They're not copying. They're not budget alternatives. They're leading battery tech. They're leading software integration. They're leading EV performance per dollar. And in some cases, they're quietly outperforming brands that have been around for 100 years. As a mechanic, I don't care about hype or marketing slogans. I care about what's underneath, how it's built, how it's engineered, how it holds up after 100,000 kilometers, and whether ownership is actually painless in the real world. So today, I'm giving you my top 5 Chinese car picks you should seriously consider. Not just because they're trendy, not just because they're electric, but because from a technical, mechanical, and ownership perspective, they make sense. Let's start with number 5. At number 5, Xiaomi YU7. The tech-forward mid-size luxury EV. Now this one surprised me, because if you told me 5 years ago that a smartphone company would build a proper luxury SUV, I would have laughed. But Xiaomi didn't treat this like a gadget. They treated it like engineering. The YU7 is a mid-size electric SUV, and on paper alone, it's impressive. We're talking long-range battery options pushing roughly 760 to over 800 kilometers on the Chinese cycle, dual motor setups, serious torque, and acceleration that feels more sports sedan than family crossover. But numbers don't impress me anymore. What impressed me is integration. See, most automakers still bolt tech onto cars like an afterthought. Big screen here, extra software there. Xiaomi built the YU7 the opposite way. They started with software first and designed the car around it. Everything talks to everything. Battery management is smarter. Thermal control is more precise. Updates happen over the air like your phone. From a mechanic's perspective, that means fewer mismatched modules, fewer communication faults, fewer mystery electrical gremlins that plague modern cars. It's clean architecture, and that's rare. Inside, it genuinely feels premium, too. Minimalist design, solid materials. Nothing feels flimsy or rushed. It doesn't scream cheap EV. It feels like a proper luxury product. What Xiaomi really proved here is something important. You don't need 80 years of car history to build something good. You need good engineering discipline. And the YU7 has that, which is exactly why it earns the number 5 spot. Number 4, Zeekr 7X, premium EV power and range. Now if number 5 is about smart tech, number 4 is about brute force engineering. The Zeekr 7X is where Chinese manufacturers basically say, fine, you want performance and luxury? Here you go. This thing sits on Geely's SEA platform. From underneath, it's seriously impressive. We're talking 800-plus volt architecture, ultra-fast charging, massive battery packs, and in higher trims, nearly 800 horsepower. Let that sink in. 800 horsepower in a family SUV. But here's what I look at first when I inspect something like this: chassis balance, suspension geometry, cooling systems, build integrity. Because horsepower means nothing if the rest of the car falls apart. And honestly, the 7X feels tight. The structure is rigid. The suspension tuning is mature. Road noise insulation is properly done. It doesn't feel like an experiment. It feels like something engineered to compete with German luxury SUVs. And that's the part that really changed my opinion. A few years ago, Chinese EVs felt like good for the price. The Zeekr doesn't feel like that. It just feels good. Period. Fast charging from 10 to 80% in minutes instead of nearly an hour means less stress on owners, less waiting, less frustration. That's real-world practicality, not just spec sheet bragging. From the workshop floor to the highway, this is one of the first Chinese SUVs where I genuinely thought, yeah, this could easily replace a premium European SUV and most drivers wouldn't miss a thing. And that's exactly why it lands at number 4. Moving to swiftly, at number 3 we have the NIO-ET5, battery swaps and owner convenience. Now, number 3 is where things get really interesting, because this isn't just a car story, it's an ownership story. The NIO ET5 looks like a normal compact executive sedan at first glance. Clean lines, low stance, premium proportions. The kind of car you'd park next to a BMW 3 Series or a Tesla Model 3 and nobody would question it. But what makes this car special isn't the styling. It's what happens when the battery runs low. Most EV owners are used to the same routine. You find a charger, you plug in, then you wait. 20 minutes if you're lucky, 45 if you're not. And if you live in an apartment or don't have home charging, it gets even worse. That's where NIO flipped the entire script. Instead of charging, you swap. Drive into a NIO station, park the car, and in about 3 to 5 minutes, the system automatically removes your depleted battery and installs a fully charged one. You don't even step out of the car. From a mechanic's perspective, that's brilliant, because it solves two of the biggest long-term EV headaches: downtime and battery degradation. See, batteries are expensive, and over years of use, they lose capacity. That's just chemistry. But with NIO's model, you're not tied to one aging battery pack forever. The pack is part of the infrastructure, not permanently married to the car. That means less stress for the owner, less worry about long-term replacement costs. And from a service standpoint, it's incredibly logical. Battery modules are standardized. Maintenance happens centrally. Faulty packs get pulled out of rotation fast. It's clean, it's efficient. And honestly, it's how EV ownership probably should have been designed from day one. The ET5 itself is solid too. Good ride quality, balanced chassis, premium feeling interior. But it's that ecosystem thinking that pushes it into third place. Because sometimes the smartest engineering isn't horsepower, it's convenience. Up next at number 2 is the XPeng P7 Plus and G6, AI-driven performance and tech integration. Now number 2 is where we step into the future, and I mean properly into the future. XPeng isn't just building electric cars, they're building rolling computers. Models like the P7 Plus sedan and the G6 crossover show exactly where the industry is headed. Heavy focus on software, artificial intelligence, and driver assistance that actually feels usable, not gimmicky. From the outside, they already look sharp. Low aerodynamic shapes, modern lighting signatures, minimalist cabins. But the real magic is underneath. These cars run layered sensor systems, cameras, radar, ultrasonic sensors, constantly reading the road and feeding data into AI processors that help the car predict traffic behavior. And that's the key word: predict, not just react. There's a big difference. A lot of legacy systems feel robotic, jerky, overly cautious. XPeng's systems feel smoother, more natural, more human-like. Lane changes are confident. Traffic assist feels less stressed. It's the kind of tech that quietly reduces driver fatigue without making you nervous. And here's the part I respect most as a technician. They didn't lock all this behind ridiculous option packages. You don't need to spend luxury car money to get it. It's baked into the car, standard or close to it. From a service standpoint, yes, advanced tech means more calibration, more sensors, more software management. But XPeng handles this properly with strong over-the-air updates and centralized diagnostics. That means fewer dealership visits, fewer software headaches, less owner frustration. And that's huge, because fancy tech means nothing if it breaks constantly. XPeng seems to understand that reliability matters just as much as innovation, which is exactly why they land at number 2. Not just smart cars, smart engineering. Finally, at number 1 is the BYD Seal U and Chin L. Best all-around value and tech story. Now we're at number 1, and honestly, this wasn't even a difficult decision. Because if you've been paying attention to the global auto industry lately, one name keeps popping up over and over again: BYD. And not quietly either, they didn't just grow, they exploded. Today, BYD has already surpassed Tesla in total EV sales worldwide. Millions of vehicles, multiple continents, massive production numbers. And as someone who works on cars every day, that scale tells me something very important. You don't sell that many vehicles unless the fundamentals are solid. Models like the Seal U and Chin L, especially under BYD's Ocean series, perfectly show why they've taken the top spot. On the surface, they look premium: clean proportions, modern lighting, sharp body lines, confident stance. They don't look like budget alternatives. They look like proper, well-designed cars that belong in the same conversation as much more expensive brands. But what really pushes BYD ahead isn't just styling or range. It's how they build their cars. BYD manufactures almost everything in-house: batteries, electric motors, power electronics, even semiconductors. As a mechanic, that's massive, because when one company controls the entire supply chain, parts are designed to work together from day one. There's less mismatch, less compromise. Fewer "this module doesn't like that module" headaches. It creates tighter engineering and better reliability long-term, and you feel it. The CLU, for example, delivers strong range, quick charging, excellent safety tech, and a feature list that honestly feels like it belongs in cars costing 10 or 15 grand more. Yet the price stays grounded. That combination is rare. Premium feel, solid construction, reasonable ownership costs. That's the trifecta. And that's exactly why BYD takes my #1 spot. Not flashy, not hype-driven, just smart, honest engineering that makes sense for real people. Now, stepping back from the rankings for a second, there's a bigger picture here. Because this isn't luck. There's a reason Chinese cars are suddenly everywhere. First, scale. China has one of the biggest domestic car markets on the planet. That means insane amounts of real-world data, fast customer feedback, and rapid development cycles. While some legacy brands take 5 or 6 years to redesign a car, Chinese brands are iterating in half that time. Second, vertical integration. When you build your own batteries, your own motors, your own software, you cut costs and speed up innovation. That's why they can pack more tech into a cheaper vehicle without cutting corners. Third, tech-first thinking. Companies like Xiaomi, XPeng, and BYD don't treat software like an add-on. They treat the car like a rolling smart device. Everything is connected. Everything updates. Everything evolves. That's the future of ownership. And lastly, global ambition. These brands aren't staying local. They're pushing into Europe, the UK, Latin America, Africa, everywhere. And when you start seeing them compete head-to-head with established brands and actually win on value, you know the industry has shifted. At the end of the day, I'm not impressed by flashy marketing or giant screens. I'm impressed by what holds up after years of driving. How easy a car is to live with, how reliable it feels when the warranty is gone, how much value you truly get for your money. And these 5 cars, they deliver. In 2026, calling Chinese cars cheap or second tier just doesn't make sense anymore. They're not chasing the market. They're defining it. And if you're shopping smart, you'd be doing yourself a disservice not to consider them. Because sometimes the smartest buy isn't the most famous badge. It's the one built with the most intelligent engineering.